Hello and welcome to the latest edition of B.I. Kelsey's workshop series, in which B.I. Kelsey analysts give video presentations on the biggest trends that we're seeing impacting local media and advertising. I'm Mike Boland. Today we're going to be going over location-based marketing in the smartphone era. So lots of data and insights on usage behavior in terms of the changing ways that consumers are finding their way to local purchases, and conversely, what are the things that advertisers and media companies should be doing and paying attention to in order to get in front of those users and those important trends. So let's get right into it. A good place to start is what do the numbers look like? What's the underlying opportunity look like in terms of user behavior? So right now, U.S. smartphone penetration in the U.S. is about 80%. About half of search query volume is now happening on mobile devices. So Google searches, in terms of the queries, the query volume, half of them are happening on desktop and tablets, and the other half are all on smartphones. It's also worth noting that half of those searches are local or have local intent to find things in one's immediate vicinity. Now, it's important to note that that compares to only 20% of desktop queries that have that same local intent. So that right there immediately says that mobile is a channel and a medium which carries with it a lot of immediacy and local intent, as we're going to go over. Another important number is 7%. So what is 7%? It's the percentage of retail spending that is e-commerce. So despite all of the attention over the last decade paid to Amazon and lots of different kind of constituents in the kind of e-commerce world of buying things online and having them ordered to your house, it's really only 7% of U.S. retail spending. The rest, the vast majority, all happens offline in brick and mortar stores. Now that just covers retail. If you add in services, it's close to 100% that happens offline. So the point of all this isn't to disparage digital in terms of its role in commerce, because it actually is very important in influencing that offline activity and transactions and conversions. About half of the overall kind of U.S. retail spending is actually influenced digitally, and about half of that, to the tune of about almost $1 trillion, is influenced in mobile. Now, how is that playing out? In search, for example, 73% of mobile searches trigger additional actions and conversions. And if you look at these, a lot of them are very local in nature. They are offline, and they're very highly valued types of conversions by businesses and advertisers. We're talking things like visiting a store, making a purchase, or calling a business. Now, even more interestingly, about half of those happen within 1 hour of the initial search. So that really says to me that mobile searchers and mobile levels of engagement are indeed what we've been saying for years. They're high intent, they're lower funnel, they're literally an hour away from a conversion. So therefore, the opportunity to influence a purchase decision at that key decision-making point is high. So really the lesson is, capture that intent. The intent is there, so it's kind of the advertiser's game to lose. The intent's there. It's really a matter of just capturing it and channeling it and influencing it. So how is that done? Lots of different ways, and the remainder of this presentation really drills down on a few of these different types of calls to action and different modes of user engagement. But as an overview, I'll go over a few of them now. Reservations and scheduling is very important. There are lots of different tools being launched by Google and others that better let mobile users schedule an appointment straight from their phone when that intent level is high. And that's, of course, very appropriate for lots of categories of local businesses that operate on appointments. Lots of professional services, for example. Messaging is a key category. It's becoming an increasingly popular user kind of mode of engagement to basically use messaging apps, Facebook Messenger and others. It's especially popular among millennials, and we see it happening in Asia as a leading indicator. I'll spend a little bit of time talking about that in a bit. Click to call is huge. That's an area where I have a whole chapter that I'm going to go over, so I'll skip it here in the interest of time. Real-time inventory as a call to action is important in mobile because, again, searches are happening within an hour of the conversion. The mobile users tend to be further along in their kind of research phases, so they know the exact product they want. They're not doing searches that are on a category level. They're searching on a individual product or SKU level, or for different types of services or procedures performed by small businesses. So therefore, in a kind of SEO perspective, having that information on your website or other places you're present in mobile is very important to be able to be surfaced when those terms are used, when users are searching for things. And that can include things like the products you have on the shelf now. It's important that that type of information join the overall presence that you have as a local advertiser. Photos and video, I'll be going over those in depth, so I'll skip them here. Really, it's just all about calls to action, making sure that high intent, again, is captured. So I'm going to focus now on one of those types of calls to action, literally, phone calls. Phone calls are something that are really growing in volume. According to BI/Kelsey data, there are 93 billion calls that will be driven to businesses from mobile this year, growing to about 162 billion by 2019. Now, that has a lot to do with a number of factors. One is the hardware reality. The mobile device is, after all, a phone. It really bolts together a search device with a calling device. So the handoff from these high-intent mobile searches to a phone call is very intuitive. And that high transaction intent also is present. So it's not only quantity of calls, but quality of calls. And then also it really shines in areas where there is a product or a service that has a certain degree of complexity, so consumers want to talk to a human to find out more. That's especially the case with cars, financial services, healthcare and medical, such as vision care, certainly something that's included in that. So the moral of the story is, because that intent is there, it's important that phone numbers are present and prominent in the places that local advertisers are distributing their content and their business information. Now, on a desktop website, by comparison, a phone number might be further down the home page, or perhaps even on its own contact page. However, in mobile, again, due to that high intent, you want to have that phone number more prominently placed. Now, there's a few different ways that can happen. Small businesses or any local advertiser that has a website needs to optimize that site for kind of different calls to action in mobile, and that phone number should be high. But in addition to a company's own website, it should also be optimized within the other places that businesses are becoming increasingly present, such as Google Search or Yelp or Facebook. Facebook's actually a good example because they recently launched a call button so that local advertisers could prompt their users to call the business directly from their Facebook page or their ad. So the point there is, make sure that these tools increasingly offered by the Facebooks and Googles and Yelps of the world are being used. So speaking of Facebook and social, that leads into my next chapter, which is that social is becoming an increasingly important channel for local advertising. It's actually the #1 channel for local advertising, according to BI/Kelsey's Local Commerce Monitor survey data. Now, if you further segment that in terms of the most popular forms of social media among advertisers, the top one is actually a Facebook page. And there are a few different reasons for that. One is it's free. #2 is it is an easy way to get up and running in terms of a mobile presence. It's very easy to set up a page. It's highly templatized. It doesn't require programming skills or other things, or the difficulty sometimes in building a website. It's very simple to create and then to maintain. And for this reason, Facebook is actually very much communicating the message to small businesses to have their Facebook page actually be a substitution for the need for a website or for a or an app. And really the interesting thing there is that by having a Facebook presence, you automatically have a mobile presence. You automatically have an optimized mobile presence. All of the things I went over, making sure that the phone numbers are prominently placed, and all of these other kind of best practices in having a mobile page or a mobile presence. If you create a Facebook page, you're automatically in that arena without having to do a lot of other things. So it has become a very low-hanging fruit tactic for local advertisers to gain that digital and mobile presence that they need. We don't recommend that is the only thing they do, but it is certainly, for a lot of these reasons, it has become the most popular channel. So recently, Facebook, in really realizing this opportunity, they now have 45 million small businesses globally that have Facebook pages. They really want to optimize this experience. Just last week, they completely revamped the user experience, where things are more structured. They used to have the calls to action that were very scattered around the page. Now they have tabs at the top that are very organized in terms of drilling down into the areas that consumers might want to find out more about. That includes services, the types of procedures done by a small business, or perhaps the products they carry, and more details. And then lastly, sending a message to the business. This is something I alluded to earlier, and it is a trend that's going to be very important in the coming years, in that messaging apps like Facebook Messenger are going to be used not just for messaging friends, but as a tool to message businesses for customer service queries or any other types of queries. And the leading indicator there is two things. One, it's very much happening throughout Asia, the trend and the phenomenon that I just mentioned. We're seeing that already with apps very popular throughout China, such as WeChat. The second leading indicator is millennials. Messaging is something that is very popular among millennials, and I think we're going to see it more and more as a business communication tool in addition to just a pure social tool. Facebook, meanwhile, is doing lots of interesting things to make this a more attractive business tool, such as creating ways to let businesses, take these queries or these customer service situations offline or direct in a one-on-one conversation to prevent disgruntled customers from talking about things in the more kind of public social feeds. So a lot happening there that's worth continuing to watch. And that leads into content marketing. Social is very content marketing oriented, and we'll go into a few examples. But first off, this takes many flavors. So content marketing, for those unfamiliar, deviates from traditional marketing, where it's not a blatant ad. Instead, it is something where the content itself is positioned as the primary medium. So for example, if a business owner were to contribute an op-ed to an industry trade publication talking about the biggest issues facing that industry, it's something that puts that proprietor, that business at the center of a discussion in a very genuine and organic way, and the byproduct is a lot of awareness for their business. Another example is YouTube. A lot of companies are doing, or a lot of local businesses are conducting how-to videos on YouTube. So it's something that is of value. It's a great value exchange for people that watch those videos. It's real, genuine content, but it's done in a way that demonstrates the abilities and the knowledge of that business, instead of being in a more traditional kind of marketing mode. So a few other ways that this is playing out, and I'm going to go over some examples of how this lives in the kind of social environment. But first, it's worth noting that the fastest growing local content marketing tool is actually Instagram. And it may not be in the ways you think. It's not in kind of having an Instagram page for your business and just putting a bunch of pictures on there. But in addition to that, it's really inspiring customers and users to use Instagram to capture the moments of using a given product or dining at a restaurant, or the social sharing moments that are happening in and around a given business, and then capturing that and amplifying it. Again, that's something that can be powerful because it's genuine, it's real consumer stories. One example of how that's playing out, case study, Genghis Grill. This is a regional chain of restaurants that essentially throughout their store signage and in other ways has inspired and incentivized its customers to take pictures around their dining experience. Now the interesting thing here is they're not only doing that, but if you look at this comment thread on this screenshot, look at the second entry. It's actually Genghis Grill itself. So it's part of the discussion. It's motivating the ongoing conversation, which is important because if you look at the way that social graphs work, each additional comment will generally inspire more comments. And each additional comment then pulls in not only one user, but that user's entire social graph in terms of who is subject to see the comment. And things really start to exponentially grow in terms of impressions within social graphs and the way that these communication systems are architected. And the types of businesses that are most conducive to this very visual medium are things like food, for example. People love taking pictures of food, so it's great within restaurants. Anything in fashion, or anything really that you can consider to be visually oriented, are having a lot of success with this type of content marketing. Another category that this is very conducive to is what we like to call life stage businesses. So the most common example there is a wedding. The wedding business, of course, has a lot of imagery attached to it. It's very conducive to capturing and sharing those types of moments. Another example is moving. U-Haul has done a great job with this. They have a campaign where they inspire their users and their movers to take pictures and document what can be a very kind of emotional and life stage kind of moment where you're moving houses or even moving different cities. And what they've done is they've taken the best of those pictures and they put them on the side of their trucks, and lots of other ways that kind of inspire users to kind of capture and share those moments. And again, in a very genuine and organic way. One more quick case study, Dickerman Prints. This is a local business in San Francisco. I'm actually a customer of this company, and this is how I found out about this. They're a San Francisco photo and print lab. They have a lot of followers for a local business on Instagram. They have 1,000 in-market followers. They have a daily Instagram contest where they have anyone on Instagram upload pictures. All you have to do is tag Dickerman Prints in the description of the photo and you automatically enter in this contest. They pick a daily winner and then they give them a shout out. It's a great kind of moment. People are inspired to participate in this by the kind of gaming mechanics and the ability to kind of win that recognition. And then that contest just creates great viral marketing for Dickerman because they put themselves at the center of this very kind of organic, genuine kind of appreciation of photography, which is their business. The next place this is going is video. More multi-dimensional capturing of all of these moments. It's important because the iPhone 6s just recently announced has a 12 megapixel camera and better ability to share large files. So video and capturing video around these local experiences is something we'll continue to see develop. The channels that you want to be present in. I mentioned a few of these. Instagram, of course, I mentioned, and Facebook. Didn't mention Twitter. There's a lot that can be done there. Vine as a video capture medium, and Snapchat. Snapchat's one worth mentioning here because of its popularity with millennials and its growth as both sharing photos and videos. Something certainly to watch. So I'll stop there. I hope this has been valuable. There is several other kind of trends that we're all watching, but those are the ones that have emerged and shown kind of interesting examples through different product updates over the last few weeks alone. Some of the announcements I mentioned from Facebook and others. So these are topics we're going to be continuing to talk about in formats like this, in the BIA Kelsey blog, which is just blog.biakelsey.com, in our newsletter, and of course in our upcoming conferences. So thank you for listening. I'm Mike Boland. This has been a BIA Kelsey workshop. Have a great day.